Ramadan arrives not as a guest that passes through your life quietly, but as a call that shakes the soul awake. It comes with nights heavy with mercy, days polished by hunger and hearts softened by longing. In this blessed month, time itself feels different, as though every second has been stretched wide enough to hold eternity. And within this sacred time, Allah gives us a gift that requires no wealth, no preparation, no special place, a gift that can be carried on the tongue, settled in the heart, and lived in every breath. That gift is Dhikr. Every moment in Ramadan is an invitation to remember the one who remembered you before you ever remembered him, the one who knew your name before you knew how to speak, the one who has never stopped sustaining you, even when you forgot him. Dhikr is not meant to be an interruption to your Ramadan, it is meant to be the rhythm of it. It is not reserved for the masjid or the prayer mat alone. It flows into your fasting, your working, your walking, your waiting. It turns ordinary moments into acts of worship and heavy moments into light. The best forms of dhikr in Ramadan begin with what Allah loves most, remembering Him as He has taught us to remember Him. When your tongue says Subhanallah, you are declaring that Allah is far above every flaw you have ever imagined, far above every injustice you have ever suffered, far above every fear that weighs on you. In Ramadan, Subhanallah becomes a release. It reminds you that no matter how chaotic the world feels, Allah is perfect, untouched, and in complete control. And you say Alhamdulillah, you are not just expressing gratitude for ease. You are praising Allah even for the struggle of fasting, for the hunger that humbles you, for the thirst that reminds you of those who live without choice. In Ramadan, Alhamdulillah reshapes your perspective. It teaches you to see blessings hidden inside difficulty, and mercy embedded in discipline. It trains your heart to be grateful before the relief comes, not after. And you say, Allahu Akbar. You are reminding your soul that Allah is greater than your temptations, greater than your sins, greater than your regrets, greater than your distractions. In a month where desires are restrained, Allahu Akbar becomes a declaration of freedom. It tells your nafs that it is not in charge. It tells your worries that they are not permanent. It tells your heart that there is something far greater than whatever is trying to pull you away. The most powerful forms of dhikr in Ramadan is seeking forgiveness. Ba'bar. Saying Astaghfirullah in this month is not merely asking Allah to erase the past, it is asking Him to heal the heart that caused it. Ramadan is a month where Allah opens the doors of forgiveness so wide that even the most broken feel brave enough to knock. Every Astaghfirullah softens the heart, cleans the tongue, and lifts a burden you were never meant to carry alone. It is a reminder that Allah's mercy is not exhausted by repetition, and His patience is not worn out by your return. Then, there is the dhikr that revives hope, La ilaha illallah. In Ramadan, this statement becomes more than a testimony, it becomes a lifeline. It reminds you that nothing deserves your ultimate fear, love, reliance, or sacrifice except Allah. Not people's opinions, not your past mistakes, not your future anxieties. This dhikr strips away false attachments and realigns the heart with its true purpose. It is the anchor that keeps you steady when fasting exposes your weaknesses and nights of worship expose your tears. Sending blessings upon the Prophet is also among the most beloved forms of remembrance in this month. Every salawat you send is returned to you multiplied, wrapped in mercy and carried upward by angels. In Ramadan, salawat softens the heart and reconnects you to the example of patience, compassion, and devotion. It reminds you that the path to Allah has been walked before with sacrifice, sincerity, and unwavering trust. But the most transformative dhikr of Ramadan is not only what moves the tongue, it is what settles in the heart. Dhikr becomes complete when remembrance shapes your character, your reactions, your silence, and your choices. When hunger makes you irritable but dhikr makes you gentle. When exhaustion makes you impatient but dhikr makes you forgiving. When solitude tempts you towards sin, but dhikr reminds you that Allah sees you even when no one else does. Busy your tongue with remembrance, yes, but do not neglect the heart. Let your heart remember Allah when you are driving, when you are cooking, when you are waiting for iftar, when you are lying awake at night. Let it remember Him when you fail and when you succeed. Let it remember Him not only when you need something, but when you simply need Him. Ramadan is not asking you to be perfect. It is inviting you to be present, to fill the spaces between your prayers with remembrance, to replace idle words with words that carry weight in the heavens, to let dhikr become the background of your life, so constant that your soul feels uneasy without it. This month will pass quickly. The days will fold into nights, the nights into memories, but the dhikr you plant in Ramadan does not disappear with the moon. It follows you beyond the fast, beyond the calendar, beyond this world. Every word of remembrance is a seed, and Allah is the one who makes it grow. Those seeds are watered by sincerity and protected by consistency, and Ramadan is the season where Allah multiplies the harvest beyond what the mind can calculate. When you remember Allah in this month, you are not just adding good deeds to a scale, you are training your soul to turn back to Him instinctively even when Ramadan is gone. Dhikr becomes the muscle memory of faith, the reflex of a heart that has learned where safety truly lies. There will be moments in Ramadan when your energy fades, when the long days feel heavier than expected, when the nights come and you wonder how much more you can give. It is in those moments that dhikr becomes mercy. A quiet Ya Allah wisp, aired from a tired heart, can carry more weight than long words spoken without presence. Allah is not measuring the length of your phrases, He is responding to the truth of your need. Sometimes the best dhikr is simply calling upon Him, acknowledging your dependence, admitting that you cannot do this without His help. In Ramadan, dhikr has a way of slowing life down. It pulls you out of the rush and reminds you that you were never meant to live disconnected from the one who created time itself. When you pause to remember Allah even briefly, you are stepping outside the noise and grounding yourself in something eternal. That is why the simplest forms of remembrance can become the most powerful. A heart that says Hasbiya Allah learns to rest. A soul that repeats Tawakkaltu ala Allah learns to let go of control. A believer who clings to La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah understands that strength does not come from within but from above. Ramadan teaches you that dhikr is not meant only for moments of calm, it is meant for moments of tension. When you are tested by hunger, remember Allah. When you are tested by anger, remember Allah. When you are tested by loneliness, remember Allah. Dhikr does not erase the test, but it changes how you carry it. It transforms pressure into patience and struggle into elevation. Every time you choose remembrance over reaction, Allah raises you in ways you may not see immediately but will feel deeply. The beauty of dhikr in Ramadan is that it aligns your inner world with your outer worship. Your fast is no longer just abstaining from food and drink, it becomes a fast of the heart and tongue. When your tongue stays moist with remembrance, it becomes harder to waste words on gossip, complaint, or argument. When your heart stays aware of Allah, it becomes harder to entertain grudges, arrogance, or despair. Dhikr polishes the heart until it reflects the light of faith more clearly. There is also a quiet intimacy in dhikr that Ramadan invites you into. In the stillness before suhoor, when the world sleeps and only Allah is fully aware of your wakefulness, a few moments of remembrance can feel like a private conversation with your Lord. In the final minutes before iftar, when hunger peaks and patience is tested, remembering Allah turns waiting into worship. These moments, unseen by people, are often the moments Allah loves most. Dhikr in Ramadan also reshapes how you see yourself. When you constantly remember Allah's greatness, your own problems shrink to their proper size. When you constantly remember His mercy, your own sins no longer define you. When you constantly remember His nearness, your own loneliness begins to fade. Dhikr reminds you that you are never navigating life alone, even when no one else understands what you are carrying. This month trains the believer to carry remembrance beyond the prayer mat. You learn that dhikr is not limited to specific words at specific times, but is a state of awareness. It is remembering Allah before you speak, before you act, before you react. It is remembering Him when you succeed, so pride does not creep in, and remembering Him when you fail, so despair does not take over. Ramadan teaches you that a heart connected to Allah is a heart that remains steady through changing circumstances. As the days of Ramadan move forward, dhikr becomes a companion that walks with you through every phase of the fast. It sits with you when you feel strong and when you feel weak. It celebrates with you when you complete acts of worship and consoles you when you fall short. It reminds you that Allah does not expect perfection, but He loves persistence. Every time you return to remembrance, no matter how many times you drift, Allah welcomes you back. The greatest loss in Ramadan is not missing a long night of prayer or a day of extra charity. The greatest loss is allowing the heart to remain heedless while the body fasts. Dhikr protects you from that loss. It keeps the heart awake while the stomach is empty. It ensures that Ramadan does not pass over you without leaving a mark. Through remembrance, the month becomes not just a memory but a transformation. When you busy your tongue and heart with dhikr in Ramadan, you are preparing yourself for life beyond it. You are building a relationship with Allah that does not depend on the calendar. You are learning to turn to Him instinctively, whether in gratitude or desperation. You are teaching your soul that peace is not found in distraction, but in remembrance. Every tasbih whispered, every praise spoken, every forgiveness sought is known to Allah. None of it is lost. None of it is insignificant. In Ramadan, Allah magnifies what you offer even when you feel it is small. A few sincere words repeated consistently can outweigh what seems great but lacks presence. This is the generosity of Allah in this month. He takes little and makes it lasting. As you move through Ramadan, let dhikr become the thread that ties your days and nights together. Let it follow you from suhoor to iftar, from prayer to prayer, from silence to speech. Let it shape your fasting into something deeper than habit and your worship into something closer than routine. In remembering Allah, you discover that He has been remembering you all along, surrounding you with mercy, calling you closer and inviting you to become someone new through the power of His remembrance. Through the power of His remembrance, the heart begins to recognize what was missing all along. You start to notice subtle changes within yourself that no one else can see. The way you pause before reacting, the way your thoughts soften before your words do, the way patience begins to replace panic and trust begins to replace fear. This is what Dhikr does in Ramadan. It quietly reforms you from the inside out without fanfare, without applause, without anyone needing to notice but Allah. As the days continue, you realize that Dhikr is not competing with your responsibilities. It is strengthening you to fulfill them. When you remember Allah while working, your work becomes more honest. When you remember Allah while caring for others, your service becomes more sincere. When you remember Allah while enduring difficulty, your endurance becomes dignified. Dhikr does not remove you from the world. It teaches you how to live in it without losing your soul. There are moments in Ramadan when silence itself becomes dhikr, when words feel heavy and the heart speaks instead, when tears fall without explanation and Allah understands without clarification. In those moments, remembrance is not something you do, it is something you are immersed in, a quiet awareness that Allah is near, attentive, gentle, that He sees the struggle behind your strength and the hope behind your hesitation. Dhikr also has a way of bringing forgotten intentions back to life. You remember why you started fasting in the first place, why you once felt close to Allah, why your heart used to soften at the mention of His name. Ramadan, through remembrance, reconnects you to earlier versions of yourself that were more sincere, more hopeful, more dependent on Allah. It reminds you that faith does not disappear, it waits patiently for you to return. As remembrance becomes more frequent, the heart begins to recognize distractions more clearly. You notice what pulls you away from Allah and what draws you closer. You become more protective of your spiritual state, not out of rigidity but out of love. Just as you protect something precious from being damaged, you begin to protect your heart from heedlessness. Dhikr sharpens that awareness and strengthens that resolve. One of the miracles of Dhikr in Ramadan is how it transforms moments of weakness into moments of worship. When hunger makes you feel fragile, remembrance makes you humble. When fatigue slows you down, remembrance lifts you up. When desire is restrained, remembrance fills the space it leaves behind. Dhikr teaches the soul that emptiness is not meant to be feared, it is meant to be filled with Allah. In this month, even waiting becomes meaningful. Waiting for iftar, waiting for prayer, waiting for relief. Dhikr turns waiting into connection. Instead of counting minutes, you count praises. Instead of feeling delayed, you feel held. You realize that Allah is not distant while you wait, He is present within it. Every moment of anticipation becomes a moment of nearness. Dhikr also reshapes how you see others. When your heart is busy remembering Allah, it becomes less concerned with judging people. You become more forgiving, because you are constantly aware of how much you yourself need forgiveness. You become more compassionate, because remembrance reminds you that every soul is struggling in ways unseen. Ramadan, through Dhikr, softens not only your relationship with Allah, but your relationship with creation. As the nights grow deeper, remembrance takes on a different tone. It becomes more intimate, more vulnerable. In the quiet hours, you remember Allah not because you should, but because you need to. Dhikr becomes a refuge where you can lay down burdens you cannot explain to anyone else. It becomes a space where you can be honest about your fears, your hopes, your failures, and your longing to be better than you were yesterday. There is a particular strength that comes from consistent remembrance, not the loud kind, but the steady kind, the kind that anchors you when emotions rise and circumstances shift. Ramadan trains you in that consistency. Day after day, you return to Allah with the same words, the same intentions, the same hope, and Allah never tires of receiving you. This constancy builds resilience in the soul, teaching it to remain connected even when motivation fades. Dhikr also protects the heart from arrogance during moments of spiritual productivity. When you find yourself praying more, giving more, fasting more sincerely, remembrance reminds you that none of it is from your own power. It keeps gratitude alive and pride away. It reminds you that every good deed is a gift before it is an achievement. In Ramadan, Dhikr preserves the purity of worship by keeping the focus where it belongs. At times, remembrance may feel dry, routine, or repetitive, but even in those moments, Dhikr is working. Not every seed sprouts immediately. Some take time beneath the surface before they break through. Allah values your persistence even when emotion is absent. Especially when emotion is absent. Returning to remembrance without feeling is still an act of devotion, and Allah honors it. As Ramadan unfolds, Dhikr begins to feel less like an effort and more like a need. You notice its absence more than its presence. A day that passes without remembrance feels incomplete, unsettled. This is not guilt, it is awareness. It is the heart recognizing what nourishes it. Just as the body feels the absence of food, the soul feels the absence of dhikr. Through remembrance, Ramadan teaches you to live with intention, to be aware of Allah in moments of decision, to pause before acting, to align your choices with your values. Dhikr becomes the inner voice that reminds you who you are and who you belong to. It steadies you when temptation appears and reassures you when doubt creeps in. There is a quiet confidence that grows in the heart that remembers Allah often. Not confidence in the self, but confidence in Allah. A deep-rooted trust that whatever comes, Allah is sufficient. That whatever is lost, Allah can replace. That whatever is delayed, Allah is wise. Dhikr nurtures this trust gently, repeatedly, until it becomes part of how you see the world. As the month continues, remembrance weaves itself into your identity. You are no longer someone who occasionally remembers Allah, you are someone who returns to Him naturally, in ease and in difficulty, in joy and in exhaustion. Your heart knows where to turn. Ramadan, through dhikr, reintroduces you to the version of yourself that feels most alive when connected to Allah, most grounded when remembering Him, and most hopeful when calling upon His name.